We sold it, Mia. Stop standing there like someone stole your crown. My brother Kyle said it from the porch, holding my spare key between two fingers like it was a joke. Before you judge how calm I sounded after that, stay with the last receipt, because my family forgot one thing. Cameras do not love anyone. I stood in the driveway with my work bag slipping off my shoulder and my mouth half open. The empty space beside the mailbox looked bigger than it should have. My car was gone. Not borrowed. Gone. I looked at Kyle, then at my mother behind him, then at my father sitting inside the living room window with the blinds half open. What did you just say? Kyle jingled the key. We sold it. My throat tightened so fast I almost coughed. You sold my car? Mom stepped onto the porch and folded her arms. Mia, don't make this ugly. It is already ugly. Dad's voice came from inside. Lower your voice. The neighbors don't need to hear your drama. I turned toward the window. My car is missing, Dad. He pushed the blinds wider. It was not missing. It was handled. Handled by who? Kyle laughed under his breath. By the adults. I looked down at my hand. My own keys were digging into my palm so hard the metal teeth left little marks in my skin. That car was in my name. Kyle shrugged. Your name doesn't mean much when everybody here knows who paid for your mistakes. My mistakes? Mom came down one step. Yes, Mia. Your insurance. Your repairs. Your late nights. Your bad attitude every time someone asks a simple question. I paid my insurance. Dad stood up behind the glass. You paid it because we taught you responsibility. You taught me nothing about this. Kyle stepped closer. You were barely using it right anyway. I drove it to work this morning. And you came home in a rideshare. Because you texted me and said the driveway was blocked. Mom looked away. That was when my stomach dropped. I had read that message outside the office. Mia, take a rideshare home today. Your dad's friend is fixing the gutter and the driveway is blocked. There was no ladder. No truck. No gutter tools. Just an empty driveway and my brother smiling with my spare key. I slowly reached into my coat pocket. My fingers found my phone. I opened voice memo without looking down. I pressed record. Then I set the phone against my bag strap like I was only adjusting it. Say it again. Kyle frowned. What? Say you sold my car. Mom's eyes narrowed. Do not start one of your little recording games. I looked at her. Then do not say things you are ashamed to repeat. Dad came outside now. He moved slowly, like he wanted the moment to belong to him. Mia, that car was basically family property. No, it was not. Your grandfather gave you money. Family money. I felt heat crawl up my neck. Grandpa gave me that money before he died. And he should have thought about the whole family. That sentence hit harder than Kyle's smile. The October air felt cold against my face, but my chest burned. Grandpa had sat with me in that car the first week I bought it. He had tapped the steering wheel and said, "Never let anyone make you small, kid." I heard his voice so clearly that for a second, the driveway blurred. Mom softened her voice, but her eyes stayed hard. Mia, we are not monsters. We did what had to be done. You sold the last thing Grandpa helped me buy. Kyle rolled his eyes. Oh, here comes the Grandpa speech. I looked at him. Where is it? Gone. To who? A buyer. What buyer? Kyle smiled again, but this time it slipped at the edges. A normal buyer. A person with money. You should try meeting one sometime. Dad pointed at me. That mouth is exactly why we stepped in. You stepped in? Mom said, you were getting reckless. I have never missed a payment. Dad said, you are not married. You are not stable. You work that office job and act like you run the world. I run my own life. Kyle leaned against the porch rail. Not very well. I swallowed. My heart was thudding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw my bag at him. Instead, I looked at the empty space where my car had been and forced myself to breathe through my nose. When did you sell it? Dad said, this morning. To who? Kyle said, already asked. Then answer. Mom stepped between us. Mia, you are upset. Go inside. We will talk when you stop acting crazy. I stared at her. You took my car and I'm the crazy one? You always twist words. No. I'm repeating them. Dad's jaw tightened. The title was signed. The sale was legal. The cold air seemed to vanish. I looked straight at him. What title? Kyle stopped moving the key. Mom's face changed for half a second. Not fear. Calculation. Dad said, the car title. That title is locked in my desk drawer. No one answered. The street went quiet except for a dog barking somewhere behind the fence. I could smell the damp leaves near the curb and the bitter coffee still sitting in my travel mug. My hands felt stiff. Dad. He looked away first. That drawer is in our house. My locked drawer. Mom snapped, do not talk to your father like he is a criminal. Then explain how a signed title left my locked drawer. Kyle shoved the spare key into his pocket. Maybe you signed it and forgot. I almost laughed. That was the first lie that made everything clear. You think I forgot selling my own car? You forget plenty, Kyle said. Mom nodded too quickly. You have been stressed. I looked at her. No. Dad said, Mia, be careful. With what? With accusing family. I lifted my chin. Family does not need warnings when it tells the truth. Kyle took one step down. You want truth? You could not handle that car. You acted like it made you better than us. It got me to work. It made you smug. It made me independent. His face hardened. Same thing. There it was. The first honest thing he said. I reached into my bag and pulled out my wallet. Mom watched my hand. What are you doing? Checking something. I opened my insurance app. The policy was active. My name. My VIN. My car. I took a screenshot. Kyle said, that proves nothing. It proves I still carry legal responsibility for a car you claim you sold. Dad stepped closer. Mia, put the phone away. No. You are making this worse. I did not sell stolen property, Dad. Mom gasped. How dare you? How dare I notice? Kyle pointed at my phone. You always need evidence because nobody trusts your version. I looked at him and tapped my email. I searched registration. There it was. The digital copy from the motor vehicle office. I forwarded it to my private email, then to my work email. Dad's eyes followed my thumbs. Mia. I did not look up. What? You are being dramatic. No. I am being organized. Mom's voice lowered. You are going to regret turning this into something public. I finally looked at her. Public? Her mouth closed. Dad shot her a look. Kyle muttered, great job, Mom. I held still. What does public mean? No one answered. The porch light flickered above them, throwing little shadows across their faces. My fear changed shape. It stopped being panic. It became a question. Who else already knew? I slid my phone back into my pocket with the recorder still running. Then I walked past them toward the front door. Kyle blocked me. Where do you think you're going? To my room. Mom said, you need to calm down first. I need to check my desk. Dad said, not tonight. I looked at all three of them. My voice came out quiet. That scared them more than yelling would have. Move. Kyle scoffed. You think you can order me around? No. I think you are standing between me and proof. His smile faded. For the first time, he looked less like a brother and more like someone guarding a crime. Dad said, let her look. Mom turned on him. Richard. He kept his eyes on me. Let her look. Kyle stepped aside. The hallway smelled like lemon cleaner, too fresh, like someone had wiped more than counters. I went straight to my room. My desk drawer was shut. The tiny brass lock had scratches around it. My breath caught. I pulled my key from my keyring and opened it. The folder was gone. Only my old insurance card sat inside, placed neatly in the center like a bad apology. Mom spoke from the doorway. You see? You probably moved it. I picked up the insurance card. My fingers were numb. No. Kyle said from behind her, admit it, Mia. You lost track, like always. I turned around. The room felt smaller with all of them standing there. My childhood photos were still on the wall. My graduation picture. Grandpa's old baseball cap on the shelf. The life they acted like they owned. I held up the empty folder space. You stole the title. Dad said, you cannot prove that. I nodded once. You are right. Kyle smirked. Finally. I slipped the old insurance card into my pocket. But I can prove where the car was, who had my spare key, who lied about the driveway, who claimed there was a signed title, and who just admitted the sale happened this morning. Mom's face strained. Dad stared at me. Kyle said nothing. I walked between them and stopped at the front door. Mom reached for my sleeve. Mia, wait. The fabric pulled tight against my wrist. I looked down at her fingers until she let go. You wanted me without a car. I opened the door. You should have taken my memory too. I did not leave the house right away. I stood on the porch with my phone in my pocket and the old insurance card folded in my hand. The paper edge pressed into my skin like a small blade. Mom stood behind me in the doorway. Mia, come back inside. I did not turn around. No. You are shaking. I know. That means you are not thinking clearly. I laughed once, but it did not sound like me. You sold my car and now my hands are the problem? Dad stepped into the hall. Your mother is trying to help you. She helped herself to my desk. Kyle came down the stairs behind them. Still on that? You always need a villain. I turned. No, Kyle. You keep volunteering. His face tightened. Mom held one hand up like she was calming a dog. Honey, listen to me. We did not betray you. We stepped in before you ruined yourself. With what? With stress. With bills. With this obsession that you can do everything alone. I can do everything alone because I have had practice. Dad's eyes hardened. Careful. Mom softened her voice again. It was the voice she used in church halls and grocery stores. Soft enough for people to believe her. You have been tired. You have been distracted. We saw it. We all saw it. Kyle nodded. Exactly. I looked at him. You texted me a fake story about the driveway being blocked. He shrugged. So you would not make a scene. You mean so I would not stop you? Dad said, you are twisting this. No. I am untwisting it. Mom took one step closer. Mia, you do not understand what we saved you from. I stared at her face, searching for the mother who once put cold towels on my forehead when I had a fever. All I found was a woman measuring how much truth I already knew. What did you save me from? Debt. I had no debt on that car. Insurance goes up. Repairs happen. You live like tomorrow cannot touch you. My insurance is paid through next month. Dad said, because we reminded you. You did not remind me. Kyle smiled. You want a medal for paying one bill? I want my car. Mom's lips pressed together. It is gone. Then tell me who bought it. Dad looked toward Kyle. Kyle looked at the floor. That tiny glance told me more than any confession could have. I pulled my phone out. Mom's voice sharpened. What are you doing now? Calling my insurance company. Dad said, Mia, don't. Why? Because this can be handled privately. I held the phone up. You sold my car privately. Look how that turned out. Kyle snapped, you are going to make us look bad. You did that without me. I stepped off the porch and walked toward the sidewalk before dialing. The cold evening air hit my face. I could smell someone's fireplace burning 2 houses down. For 1 weak second, I wanted to sit on the curb and cry until someone older and kinder told me what to do. Then I remembered Grandpa's voice. Never let anyone make you small. The insurance agent answered on the 3rd ring. Thank you for calling. How can I help you today? My name is Mia Parker. I need to place an alert on my vehicle policy. Mom came down the porch steps. Mia, hang up. I turned my back to her. The agent said, what kind of alert? My car may have been sold without my permission. A pause. Then the agent's tone changed. Do you have the vehicle identification number available? Yes. Kyle muttered behind me, this is insane. I opened the saved registration email. My VIN is there. The vehicle is still insured under my name. The agent said, I am noting the account now. Do you want to restrict policy changes? Yes. No changes without verbal confirmation from me and a password. Mom said, this is unnecessary. I covered the phone. Unnecessary was stealing my title. Dad's voice came from the porch. We did not steal anything. I uncovered the phone. The agent asked, would you also like a claim note added in case law enforcement contacts us? Yes. Kyle laughed. Law enforcement? For a family disagreement? I looked at him. A stolen car is not a family disagreement. Mom's face flinched. Just once. But I saw it. After the call, I walked to the side of the house where the porch light did not reach. My hands were still trembling, but my thumbs worked. I opened Kyle's old texts. 3 days earlier. Can I borrow your car Saturday morning? Just for 1 day. Brandon needs me to pick something up. I had replied, no, I need it. Then Kyle had sent, relax. Nobody is stealing your precious car. I took screenshots. I emailed them to myself. Then I sent them to my work account. Mom appeared beside me. Mia, you are acting like we are strangers. I kept my eyes on the screen. You treated me like one. She exhaled slowly. Families make hard choices. No. Families ask. Not when someone refuses to listen. I looked up. You never asked. She lowered her voice. You would have said no. That is what asking means. The front door opened again. Aunt Denise stepped out carrying her purse and a worried face. She must have been inside the whole time. Mia? I turned. Aunt Denise? She looked between us. Your mother called me earlier. She said there was a misunderstanding. Mom quickly said, there is. I stared at my aunt. They sold my car. Denise blinked. They what? Dad came down the steps. Denise, this is not your concern. She ignored him. Mia, did you agree to sell it? No. Mom said, she had talked about needing less responsibility. I almost smiled. There it was. A new lie. I said gas was expensive. Kyle said, same thing. Denise frowned at him. No, it is not. Mom touched Denise's arm. She has been overwhelmed. We made a difficult decision. Denise looked at me, then at my mother. Linda, parents sometimes make hard choices for adult children. My chest sank. Of course. Mom's eyes filled with quick tears. She would not understand. I looked at Denise. Do you understand forged paperwork? Denise's mouth parted. Dad snapped, enough. I said, my title folder is gone from my locked drawer. They claim it was signed. Denise looked at Mom's hand on her arm. Then she gently pulled away. Linda? Mom's tears vanished. Mia loses things. I do not lose locked folders. Kyle said, maybe Grandpa made a mistake giving you that money in the first place. Denise turned to him. Kyle. He held up his hands. What? We are all thinking it. No, I said quietly. You are all spending it. That shut him up. My phone buzzed. A notification from Facebook. Brandon Wells liked Kyle's old post. Brandon. The name hit me like a door opening. Kyle had mentioned Brandon in the text. Brandon owned a small used car lot 2 towns over. I typed his name into Facebook Marketplace. My thumb stopped. There it was. A silver sedan. My silver sedan. The photo was angled from the front, license plate badly blurred. But the tiny parking sticker from my office garage was still on the windshield. My stomach turned cold. Mom noticed my face. What? I took a screenshot. Then another. Then another, showing the seller name, the date, the price, and the blurred plate. Kyle stepped toward me. What are you looking at? I locked the screen. Nothing you need to touch. Dad said, Mia. I looked at all of them. The buyer was not a stranger. Kyle's jaw flexed. Mom went still. Denise whispered, what does that mean? I slid my phone into my coat pocket. It means somebody got lazy. Kyle forced a laugh. You are paranoid. No. I walked toward the street. Mom called after me. Where are you going? To find my car. Dad's voice dropped. Mia, if you walk out now, do not expect this family to protect you. I stopped at the curb. The night air smelled like smoke and rain. My throat hurt, but my voice did not break. You already proved what your protection costs. I did not drive to Brandon's lot that night. That was the first smart thing I did. Anger wanted speed. Proof needed patience. I walked 2 blocks to the small coffee shop near the pharmacy and sat in the corner booth with my back to the wall. The place smelled like burnt espresso and cinnamon syrup. My coat was still damp from the mist outside, and every time the door opened, cold air brushed my ankles. I opened Facebook Marketplace again. The listing was still there. Silver 2018 sedan. Clean title. 1 owner. Runs perfect. Motivated seller. Motivated seller. My family had stolen my car and even gave it a cheerful little sales pitch. I zoomed in on the photos. The front bumper had the tiny scratch from when I scraped a concrete parking block 2 winters ago. The back seat still had the dark mark where Grandpa spilled black coffee and laughed like he had committed a felony. My eyes burned. I blinked hard. No, I whispered. Not yet. I logged into my backup account, the one I used for neighborhood groups after Mom kept commenting under my posts. The profile name was plain. Emily Carter. No photos of me. No family connections. I messaged the seller. Hi, is the silver sedan still available? The reply came in less than a minute. Yes. Great car. Lots of interest. I stared at Brandon Wells's name above the message. My fingers went cold. Can I see it tomorrow morning? Another quick reply. Sure. Cash buyer? I typed slowly. Possibly. Clean title in hand? 3 dots appeared. Then vanished. Then appeared again. Yes. All paperwork ready. I took screenshots. Then I asked one more question. Who owned it before? The reply took longer. Family friend. Older woman. Barely drove it. I let out a laugh that had no humor in it. Older woman. I was 29. I screenshotted that too. Then I forwarded everything to myself and to my work email. When I stood up, my knees felt loose. For a second, I saw myself from outside my body. A woman in a coffee shop, alone, holding a phone like it was the only thing keeping her from disappearing. I wanted someone to say, "This is not your fault." But nobody was there. So I said it to myself. This is not my fault. The next morning, Aunt Denise called before I could leave. Mia, where are you? At a coffee shop. All night? I got a room at the motel behind it. Her voice cracked. You did not go home? No. Mia, your mother is very upset. Good. That is not fair. I zipped my bag. Neither was selling my car. Denise sighed. I am not saying they handled it well. You are saying they had a reason. I am saying families panic. Families panic when someone is in a hospital. They do not forge signatures because Kyle needs money. She went silent. I heard a kettle whistle in the background. What did you just say? I said Kyle needs money. Did he tell you that? No. His face did. Denise lowered her voice. Your mother told me you had agreed to think about selling it. I agreed gas prices were annoying. She said you were embarrassed and asked them to handle it quietly. My hand froze on the motel door handle. There was the next lie. Quietly. Everything they did hid behind that word. Aunt Denise, listen to me. I never agreed. I never signed. I never handed over my title. I believe you are hurt. That is not the same as believing me. She did not answer. I opened the door. Morning light flashed off wet pavement, sharp and white. My eyes watered from it. I am going to Brandon's lot. Mia, maybe do not go alone. You want to come? Another silence. Then she said, I can meet you there. Are you coming to stop me or hear me? I do not know yet. At least that is honest. Brandon's lot sat beside a tire shop and across from a pawn store with faded yellow signs. Cars lined the front in tight rows, all polished enough to look innocent. My sedan was parked near the office window. My breath stopped. It was there. My car. The little blue office parking sticker still clung to the windshield. The rearview mirror still had Grandpa's old wooden cross hanging from it. I had put it there after his funeral. My throat closed so tight I had to press 2 fingers against my collarbone. Denise pulled in beside me 5 minutes later. She stepped out slowly, holding her purse with both hands. Mia. I pointed. That is my car. She looked at it. Her face changed, but only a little. Mia, are you sure? I turned to her. Do not do that. I just mean from here. The scratch on the bumper. The sticker. The cross. The coffee stain in the back seat. That is my car. She looked again. This time, she did not argue. Brandon came out of the office with a wide smile and sunglasses pushed into his hair. You must be Emily. I kept my phone in my coat pocket, recording again. No. I'm Mia Parker. His smile froze for less than a second. Then it came back bigger. Mia. Right. Kyle's sister. Denise stepped beside me. I am her aunt. Brandon clapped his hands once. Well, this is awkward. I said, only if you knew it was stolen. The tire shop next door fired up an air compressor. The sudden noise swallowed the space between us. A truck rolled past, music thudding through open windows. The lot lights were still on even in daylight, bright enough to make my eyes hurt. Brandon looked calm in his clean polo, standing beside price stickers and polished cars. I knew how it looked. A young woman upset in a car lot. A friendly salesman smiling through it. A public place where noise made emotion look like confusion. He spread his hands. Let's not use words like stolen. Then use sold without permission. He looked at Denise. Your family told me everything was approved. I asked, who told you? Your mom. What did I say to approve it? He rubbed his jaw. It was more of a family arrangement. No. What did I say? Mia, I do not remember every little sentence. You told my backup account you had clean title in hand. His eyes sharpened. You were the message? Yes. Denise whispered, Mia. I did not look at her. Brandon's smile finally dropped. That is dishonest. I stared at him. You are standing beside my car. He shifted his weight. Your mother brought paperwork. My mother is not me. Your father was there too. My father is not me. Kyle said it was handled. Kyle is not me. Denise's voice was quiet. Brandon, did Mia sign anything in front of you? He looked annoyed now. I said the paperwork was brought in. That is not what I asked. He glanced toward the office. The office door had a small bell hanging inside it. Behind the glass, I could see a desk, a printer, a coffee machine, and a camera in the upper corner. My heart kicked once. A camera. I looked back at Brandon. Who signed my name? His face changed again. This time, he could not hide it. I never said anyone signed your name. Yes, you did. No, I said your mother brought a signed title. Denise took one small step back. Linda brought it? Brandon looked at her. That is what I was told to say if anybody asked. The words fell out before he caught them. I felt the whole lot tilt. Denise stared at him. What do you mean, told to say? He ran a hand over his hair. Look, I am not getting in the middle of family drama. You were already in it, I said. He pointed at me. You need to talk to your parents. I did. They lied. He lowered his voice. You should be careful accusing people of crimes. I stepped closer. No, Brandon. You should be careful selling cars from forged paperwork. His jaw tightened. I do not know that it was forged. Then show me the title. I cannot. Why? It has already been processed. By who? My office. Then show me a copy. He laughed once. You are not the buyer. I am the owner. A car horn blared from the road. For 1 second, nobody spoke. Then Denise said, Brandon, if everything was proper, showing her a copy should not be a problem. He looked at her like she had betrayed him. You people need to get your story straight. Denise's face went pale. You people? He turned away. I am done. I said, what day did my mother bring the title? He stopped at the office door. Saturday. I pulled out my phone. No. Try again. He looked over his shoulder. What? I was at work Saturday from 8 to 4. My office has badge records. My manager saw me. My car was in the employee lot until lunch, when Kyle picked it up with my spare key. Denise whispered, Kyle picked it up? I nodded. After he told me nobody was stealing my precious car. Brandon said, that is between you and him. No. The title is between you and me. His face flushed. If you had a problem, you should have come before the sale. I almost smiled. I came before the sale finished. His eyes flicked to my car. That was when I knew. It was not sold yet. Not fully. Not legally. Not completely. He was still holding it. I turned toward Denise. Do you hear him? She stared at the sedan. I hear him. And? Her mouth trembled. I think your mother left out a lot. It was not enough. But it was the first crack. I looked at Brandon. If you've ever watched someone smile while rewriting your life, type truth for the last receipt. He blinked. What? I raised my phone. Truth is what happens when the story stops belonging to the liar. Brandon stepped back. You recording me? Yes. His face hardened. Leave my lot. With my car? No. Then I am calling the police from right here. Denise touched my arm. Mia, maybe we should. I looked at her hand. She let go. I dialed. Brandon rushed toward the office. The bell on the door snapped against the glass as he went inside. Through the window, I saw him grab his phone. My sedan sat 10 feet away, shining under white lot lights like nothing bad had happened to it. But I knew better. Some things come back with scratches no polish can hide. When the dispatcher answered, my voice was steady. My name is Mia Parker. I am standing in front of my stolen car. The first officer did not look at my car first. He looked at me. Then at Brandon. Then at Aunt Denise standing 2 feet behind me, twisting the strap of her purse. Brandon spoke before I could. Officer, this is a civil issue. Family disagreement. She is upset. The officer turned to me. Ma'am, did you give anyone permission to sell the vehicle? No. Brandon laughed softly. That is not what her family said. I looked at him. My family also said the driveway was blocked. It was not. The officer raised a hand. One at a time. His name tag read Harris. He had tired eyes, the kind that had heard too many people call too many things emergencies. He looked toward the sedan. You have proof that vehicle belongs to you? Yes. I opened my phone. My registration email. Insurance policy. VIN. Marketplace screenshots. Texts from my brother asking to borrow it. Voice recording from last night where my family admitted they sold it. Officer Harris did not reach for the phone immediately. Families sell cars all the time. Are you sure this was not permission that became regret afterward? The words hit me in the chest. For 1 second, I could not breathe. Because that was exactly how my family sounded when they lied. Calm. Reasonable. Like I was the storm and they were the house. Aunt Denise said, Officer, I thought that too at first. I turned to her. She looked ashamed, but she kept going. Her mother told me Mia agreed to think about selling it. But Brandon just said Linda brought paperwork. Mia says her title was locked in her drawer. Brandon snapped, I did not say anything illegal happened. Harris looked at him. I did not say you did. Brandon shut his mouth. I forced my hand to stop shaking and held the screen out. Permission does not hide inside a stolen title folder. Officer Harris finally took my phone. He scrolled through the registration. Then the insurance app. Then Kyle's text. His expression changed only a little. When was the vehicle last in your possession? Yesterday morning. I drove it to work. My brother texted me that the driveway was blocked and told me to take a rideshare home. Do you have that text? Yes. I pulled it up. Harris read it. Then he looked at my sedan. And the vehicle was moved from your workplace? Yes. My brother had my spare key. Brandon said, I do not know anything about where Kyle got the car. I looked at him. But you knew Kyle. Everybody knows somebody. You knew him enough to take my car from him. Harris held up his hand again. Mr. Wells, do you have the sale documents? Brandon's jaw tightened. They are in the office. Please get them. Brandon hesitated. Do I have to? Officer Harris stared at him. If everything is proper, that should be easy. Aunt Denise looked down at the pavement. The dealership lights hummed above us, even in daylight. My eyes burned from them. The air smelled like rubber from the tire shop and old oil from the street. I pressed my thumb against the seam of my coat pocket and tried not to cry. I hated that I wanted my mother. Not the woman who stole from me. The one I used to believe would appear whenever the world became too much. That woman did not come. So I stood there without her. Brandon came back with a folder. He handed it to Officer Harris, not to me. Harris opened it on the hood of a black pickup. I saw a copy of the title. A bill of sale. A transfer form. Then I saw my name. My signature. Except it was not mine. My stomach dropped so hard I grabbed the edge of my coat. That is not my signature. Brandon said, it matched the name. I stared at him. Matching a name is not matching a person. Officer Harris leaned closer. Who witnessed this? Brandon tapped the paper. Notary stamp is there. Harris read it. His brow moved. This notary is from Dale's Quick Cash? Brandon said, they do title work. Aunt Denise whispered, that is the pawn shop across the street. I looked at the faded yellow sign beyond the road. Dale's Quick Cash. The pawn shop camera faced the dealership entrance. The camera was small, mounted high under the sign, angled toward Brandon's office and the front row of cars. My heartbeat slowed. Not from peace. From recognition. Officer Harris asked, was Mia Parker present when this signature was notarized? Brandon rubbed his neck. I was not in the room for that. You accepted the document. It looked right. I said, I was at work. Harris turned to me. Can you prove that? Yes. Badge records. My supervisor. Security cameras in the employee lot. He nodded. Send me what you can. I said, I already forwarded it to myself. Brandon muttered, of course you did. I looked at him. Yes. Because organized people annoy careless liars. Officer Harris closed the folder. This may need a formal report. My phone rang before he finished. Dad. I looked at the screen. Aunt Denise saw the name. Mia, maybe do not answer. I answered and put it on speaker. Dad's voice came through low and controlled. Mia, listen carefully. Officer Harris looked at me. I kept the phone between us. Dad said, drop this before you embarrass yourself. I did not speak. He continued. Once police are involved, you cannot control where this goes. I looked at Officer Harris. He was listening now. Fully listening. Dad said, your mother is sick over this. Kyle is furious. Denise has no idea what she is talking about. Come home and we will fix it quietly. I said, fix it how? Dad paused. Like family. No. Say what that means. Mia. Say it. He exhaled through his nose. We can give you some of the money. Officer Harris's eyes sharpened. I asked, some? Dad's voice hardened. You do not need the car. Kyle needed help. Aunt Denise covered her mouth. I said, Dad, did you take my title? Silence. Then he said, that drawer was in my house. My throat tightened. But my voice stayed calm. And did Mom sign my name? He snapped, do not put words in my mouth. I looked at Harris. Good. Neither can you put mine on a title. Dad said, you are making a mistake. No. You made one when you thought I would stay scared. I ended the call. For a second, the whole lot felt too bright. Too loud. Too sharp. Officer Harris handed me my phone back. Do you still have the recording from last night? Yes. And this call? My phone records calls only when I start it manually. I did not record the full thing. Denise said quietly, I heard it. Harris looked at her. You are willing to make a statement? She hesitated. Her eyes flicked toward the road, like she expected my mother's car to pull in and punish her. Then she nodded. Yes. Brandon threw both hands up. This is ridiculous. I am a dealer. I do paperwork people bring me. Harris turned to him. Do you have cameras in your office? Brandon looked toward the glass door. They are mostly for show. Are they working? Sometimes. When was this paperwork signed here? It was not signed here. You said her family brought it. They did. Then your exterior cameras should show who arrived, who drove the car in, and who entered the office. Brandon's face tightened. Our system overwrites fast. How fast? 48 hours. Maybe less. I felt panic rise. When was it brought? Brandon did not answer. Officer Harris stepped closer. When? Yesterday morning. Harris looked at me. Then we move now. The word steadied me. For the first time since the empty driveway, someone official was not asking me to be smaller. Brandon said, I need my manager. You own the lot, I said. He glared at me. Harris said, Mr. Wells, preserve the footage. Do not delete, alter, or overwrite anything from yesterday morning through now. Brandon's mouth opened. Harris added, I am documenting that request. Brandon closed his mouth. Aunt Denise moved beside me. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Mia, I am sorry. I looked at her. For what? For believing she was only worried. The apology hurt more than I expected. Because it was late. Because it was small. Because I still needed it. I nodded once. Then help me tell the truth. She wiped under one eye. I will. Officer Harris looked across the street at Dale's Quick Cash. That notary stamp matters. I followed his gaze. The pawn shop sign flickered in the gray afternoon. The camera above it pointed straight at the dealership entrance. Harris said, if their footage caught the transfer, this stops being a family argument. I looked at my car. The cross still hung from the mirror, still and patient. My hands were cold. My knees were weak. But something inside me had stopped begging to be believed. I said, it was never a family argument. Officer Harris nodded. No. I do not think it was. Officer Harris did not cross the street right away. He walked Brandon back into the office first. I stayed outside with Aunt Denise, watching through the glass while Brandon stood near his desk with both hands on his hips. The office camera was mounted in the corner. Small. Black. Pointed toward the desk. My stomach tightened when I saw it. Aunt Denise followed my eyes. That camera sees the paperwork desk. Yes. Her voice dropped. Then why does he look so nervous? Because nervous people know what honest cameras remember. Brandon opened the office door. The system was down. Officer Harris stood behind him. Which system? The cameras. All of them? Brandon looked annoyed. I do not know. I am not a tech guy. Harris said, you own the lot. I sell cars. I do not babysit wires. I stepped forward. It was working when I walked in. The little red light was on. Brandon pointed at me. She does not know what that means. Harris looked at the camera. Then show me what it means. Brandon's jaw moved. There is nothing to show. Aunt Denise said, you just said you did not know. He turned to her. Lady, whose side are you on? Denise looked at my car. Then at me. Then back at him. The side that does not need to hide footage. That was the first time she said anything that sounded like she had chosen. My chest loosened, but only a little. Officer Harris asked, "Where's your recorder?" Brandon rubbed his forehead. "In the back." "Take me to it." Brandon's voice got sharper. "You need a warrant for that?" Harris stayed calm. "I asked you to preserve footage. You are free to refuse access. I am also free to document your refusal while I contact the proper unit." Brandon swallowed. "No one is refusing." "Good." They disappeared into the back office. The dealership lot felt suddenly too open. Cars shined in neat rows. Wind pushed a candy wrapper across the pavement. The air smelled like rubber, exhaust, and something sweet from the gas station next door. I wrapped my arms around myself. Aunt Denise stood close, but not close enough to touch me. "Mia." "What?" "I really did think your mother was scared for you." I stared at the pawn shop sign across the street. She was scared. Denise looked relieved for half a second. Then I finished. She was scared I would find out. Denise closed her mouth. My phone buzzed. "Mom." I did not answer. Then Dad. I did not answer. Then Kyle. I looked at the name until the screen went dark. Denise whispered, "They are probably panicking." Good. That can make people say things they do not mean. No. Panic usually makes people say what they meant too early. The office door opened again. Officer Harris came out first. Brandon followed with a face that had lost its salesman shine. Harris said, "The office camera has no available footage from yesterday." Brandon lifted his palms. "Told you." Harris looked at him. "The file gap starts at 8:11 yesterday morning and resumes at 11:46. Brandon said, "System glitch." I looked at him. "That is convenient." He snapped, "Everything looks convenient when you want to be a victim." Denise stepped forward. "Do not talk to her like that." Brandon laughed once. "Oh, now she is fragile?" Denise's voice shook, but she did not step back. "No. She is right." I looked at my aunt. Her face had gone pale, but her eyes were steady. Officer Harris turned toward the road. "Dale's Quick Cash may still have exterior footage." Brandon stiffened. "That camera points at the street." Harris said, "Then it may show the street." "And maybe my lot by accident," I said. Brandon's eyes cut to me. "You are enjoying this." I looked at him. No. The truth was heavier than enjoyment. My hands were cold. My throat hurt. Every new lie proved I was not crazy, and somehow that did not make it feel better. It made it feel worse. Because if I was right, then my mother had looked at me last night and performed love. Officer Harris crossed toward the pawn shop. Denise walked beside me. Brandon stayed behind until Harris looked back. "Mr. Wells." Brandon muttered something and followed. Inside Dale's Quick Cash, the air smelled like old carpet, metal keys, and cigarette smoke trapped from years before. A glass counter held watches, phones, and wedding rings that looked too personal to be in a display case. A man with gray hair sat behind the register. Harris showed his badge. "I need to ask about exterior camera footage from yesterday morning." The man looked past him at Brandon. "Something happened at the lot?" Brandon forced a smile. "Nothing major, Dale." Dale did not smile back. "Then you will not mind." Harris said, "We are looking for footage between 8 and noon." Dale nodded toward the ceiling. "Camera keeps 7 days. Good angle too. People keep dumping trash near my front wall, so I had it adjusted." I almost closed my eyes. 7 days. Good angle. Adjusted. Those words felt like clean water. Brandon said quickly, "You cannot just hand over business footage." Dale looked at him. "Why not?" "Privacy." Dale snorted. "Brandon, your lot is outside." Officer Harris said, "If you are willing to let me review it voluntarily, that helps." Dale stood. "Come on." We moved behind the counter into a cramped room with a monitor on a shelf. The fan inside the computer buzzed loudly. Dale clicked through folders. "What time?" I said. "Kyle picked my car up around 9. Brandon said, "You do not know that." I pulled up the rideshare receipt. I was told the driveway was blocked at 4:52 p.m. My office lot camera will show when the car disappeared. "But you said yesterday morning, remember?" Brandon's mouth closed. Dale found the footage. The screen showed the dealership across the street. Small but clear. Cars lined up. The office door. The front row. The road. The timestamp read 8:37 a.m. We watched in silence. At 8:49, my silver sedan turned into the lot. Kyle was driving. My brother stepped out wearing the black hoodie I had seen on him the night before. My chest tightened. Denise whispered, "Oh my God." Brandon said, "That does not prove." Officer Harris lifted one finger. "Do not." The footage continued. Mom's SUV pulled in behind my car. Linda got out with a tan folder held against her chest. Dad stepped out of the passenger side. He did not go inside at first. He stood near the entrance, looking left and right. Standing watch. That was the moment my private hope died. I had still been saving one small place for him. Maybe Dad did not know. Maybe Dad repeated what Mom told him. Maybe Dad was cruel, but not involved. The video took that mercy away. Denise's hand went to her mouth. "Richard." On the screen, Mom walked into Brandon's office with Kyle. Brandon followed them inside. Dad stayed outside beside my car. I whispered, "Play it forward." Dale clicked. The office window was partly visible from across the street. Not perfect. But enough. Mom stood at Brandon's desk. Brandon pointed to a paper. Kyle leaned over her shoulder. Mom bent down. Her hand moved. Signing. Not once. Twice. My skin went cold from my wrists to my elbows. Denise said, "Linda signed." Brandon said, "You cannot see what she signed." I looked at him. She was not writing a grocery list on a title folder. Harris said, "Mr. Wells." Brandon stepped back. "What?" "You told me the paperwork was brought and already signed." Brandon said nothing. Harris's voice stayed even. "That footage suggests otherwise." Brandon swallowed. "I may have remembered wrong." I laughed quietly. "It came out broken." "You remembered wrong after the camera remembered right." Dale looked between us. "Want me to export this?" Officer Harris said, "Yes." Brandon said, "Hold on." Dale ignored him and plugged in a drive. I watched Mom on the screen again, frozen mid-signature. Her hair neat. Her purse on her shoulder. Her hand writing my name. My name. Aunt Denise turned away from the monitor. "Mia, I am so sorry." I could not answer. Because if I spoke, I would cry. And I did not want Brandon to see what his lie had cost me. My phone buzzed again. "Mom." This time, I answered. I did not put it on speaker until I heard her voice. "Mia, where are you?" "At Dale's pawn shop." Silence. Then her breathing changed. "Mia, listen to me." I tapped speaker. Officer Harris looked over. Mom said, "Your daughter is drowning." We did what any family would do. Denise stared at the phone. I said, "You mean your daughter?" Mom paused. "What?" "You said your daughter like you were explaining me to someone." "That is not what I meant." No, Linda. Families help. They do not forge. Her voice sharpened. You have no idea what that car was doing to this family. Denise stepped closer to the phone. Linda, tell the truth. Mom went quiet. Then she said, Denise? Yes. You do not know the whole story. Denise looked at the frozen screen. I know enough to see your hand signing Mia's name. There was a sound on the line. Not a gasp. A small, angry breath. Mom said she was never supposed to see that. The room went still. Officer Harris looked at me. I looked at the phone. The words settled into the air like dust. She was never supposed to see that. That was not panic. That was confession wearing a mask. Kyle's voice came faintly in the background. Mom, hang up. Mom said, Mia, do not make this worse. I said, you already did. She snapped, you always thought Grandpa's money made you better than us. Denise whispered, Linda. Mom kept going. That car sat in our driveway like a trophy. Every morning, there it was, reminding everyone he chose you. My heart cracked in a place I thought was already broken. I said, Grandpa helped me because I was working 2 jobs. He helped you because you cried better. My eyes filled. But my voice stayed calm. When the story gets twisted, receipts are the only language liars fear. Mom said, what? I looked at the monitor. At least now I have mine. Officer Harris held out his hand. Mia, end the call. I did. Dale finished exporting the footage. The little progress bar moved slowly across the screen. 5%. 15. 30. Brandon leaned against the wall, pale and sweating. Denise stood beside me now. Not behind me. Beside me. She said, I will make a statement. I looked at her. You do not have to protect me because you feel guilty. I am not protecting guilt. Her voice steadied. I am protecting the truth. The progress bar reached 100. Dale handed the drive to Officer Harris. Harris looked at Brandon. Mr. Wells, I need you to remain available. Brandon tried to laugh. Am I being arrested? Not at this moment. At this moment? Harris did not smile. This investigation just changed. Outside, my sedan sat across the street, still trapped in Brandon's row of cars. But the power had shifted. Not loudly. Not with shouting. With a camera. With a timestamp. With my mother's hand writing my name because she thought the world would never check. Officer Harris asked me if I wanted to sit down before he called my family. I said no. Aunt Denise stood beside me in the pawnshop office, her face pale under the buzzing light. Brandon sat in a plastic chair near the wall with both knees bouncing. Dale leaned against the filing cabinet, silent now, like even he understood the room had become heavier than stolen property. Officer Harris held the flash drive in one hand. Mia, I am going to ask them to come in voluntarily. I nodded. And if they refuse? Then we go from there. Brandon muttered, this is getting out of hand. I looked at him. No, Brandon. It is finally in the right hands. He rubbed his palms on his jeans. I did not know your mom signed your name. Denise turned on him. You pointed at the paper. His eyes snapped up. What? The camera showed you pointing. That does not mean I knew. You knew enough to delete your own footage. Brandon's mouth opened, then closed. Officer Harris looked at him. Do you want to keep talking without an attorney? Brandon went quiet. My phone rang again. Kyle. Then Mom. Then Dad. One after another. A family choir of panic. Officer Harris said, do not answer yet. I let each call die. The room smelled like dust and warm plastic from the old monitor. My tongue felt dry. I wanted water, but I did not want to ask for anything. I had asked for enough from people who gave me lies. After the third missed call, a text came from Kyle. "You are going to ruin everything." I showed it to Officer Harris. He read it and said, "Screenshot it." I did. Then another text came. "Mom is crying because of you." I screenshot that too. Then Dad. "Come home. Now." I screenshot that. Denise whispered, "They still think they can order you back." I looked at her. So did I. She swallowed. I should have come with questions before I came with excuses. I stared at her for a moment. The apology did not erase anything. But it did something. It made the floor feel less lonely under my feet. Officer Harris made the call from his own phone. "Mr. Parker, this is Officer Harris. I need you, your wife, and your son to come to Brandon Wells Auto Sales regarding the vehicle transfer." I could hear Dad's voice even though it was not on speaker. Loud. Sharp. Then quieter. Harris said, "There is video evidence you need to be aware of." The shouting stopped. Harris listened. "No, sir. I am not discussing this over the phone." Another pause. "Yes. Now." He ended the call. Denise asked, "Are they coming?" "Yes." Brandon said, "Do I have to stay here?" Harris looked at him. "Yes." Brandon leaned back and cursed under his breath. I walked to the front of the pawn shop and looked through the glass. Across the street, my car sat in the dealership row. For a second, I let myself remember it as it was before all this. Grandpa sitting in the passenger seat, tapping the dashboard with 2 fingers. "Smooth ride, kid." I had laughed and said, "You say that like I bought a boat." He had looked at me then, serious but kind. "No. I say it because you bought freedom." My eyes stung. That was the private loss nobody in my family understood. They had not just taken a sedan. They had taken the one place where I still heard him proud of me. Aunt Denise came up beside me. "They are here." Mom's SUV pulled into the dealership lot with Dad driving. Kyle sat in the back. None of them got out right away. For 10 seconds, they just sat there across the street. Then Dad opened his door first. Mom followed, wearing sunglasses even though the sky was gray. Kyle stepped out last, jaw tight, hands shoved into his hoodie pocket. They crossed to the pawn shop. Dad looked through the glass and saw me. His face did not soften. That was when something inside me went calm. Not cold. Calm. The bell above the pawn shop door rang when they entered. Mom's perfume hit me first. Vanilla and powder. The same scent that used to cling to my birthday cards. Now it made my stomach turn. "Mia," she said. I did not answer. Dad looked at Officer Harris. "We are here." "What is this about?" Harris said, "The vehicle transfer involving Mia Parker's sedan." Dad crossed his arms. "She is making this into something it is not." Harris held up the flash drive. "We have footage from yesterday morning." Mom's lips parted. Kyle stared at Brandon. Brandon looked at the floor. Dad said, "Footage of what?" Harris said, "Kyle driving the vehicle onto the lot. Linda carrying the title folder. You standing outside. Linda signing documents at Mr. Wells's desk." Mom whispered, "You cannot know what I signed." I looked at her. "You told me I was never supposed to see it." Her face changed. Not guilt. Anger. Kyle exploded first. "Mom, I told you not to call her." Dad turned. "Kyle, shut up." Officer Harris said, "Kyle, did you drive Mia's car here?" Kyle looked at Dad. Dad said, "Do not answer that." Kyle's breathing got loud. "You said it would be fine." Mom snapped, "Kyle." He pointed at her. "No. You said Brandon would move it fast and nobody would care." The room went silent. There it was. The first crack wide enough to see through. Officer Harris asked, "Move it where?" Kyle's eyes went red. "I do not know." Dad stepped toward him. "Kyle." Kyle backed away. "No, Dad. You both said Mia would cry for a week and then take the money." I felt the words hit me, but they did not knock me down. I looked at Mom. "You planned my grief into your budget?" Mom's mouth trembled. "You are twisting it." "No. Kyle just untwisted it." Dad said, "That car was sitting there while your brother was drowning." I turned to him. "With what?" Dad looked away. Mom said, "It does not matter." "It mattered enough to steal from me." Kyle wiped his nose with his sleeve. "I lost my job." Denise gasped softly. I looked at him. "When?" 2 months ago." Dad said, "Kyle." Kyle's voice cracked. "And I owed people money." "What people?" He shook his head. "Just people." Mom stepped in. "He made mistakes." I said, "So you chose mine to pay for them." Mom's sunglasses hid her eyes, but her mouth bent hard. "You had something he needed." "I had something Grandpa left me." "That did it." She pulled the sunglasses off. Her eyes were wet, but not soft. "Grandpa spoiled you." "He always did." The sentence came out like poison she had been saving for years. Denise whispered, "Linda, stop." Mom did not stop. "He paid your school fees when we were behind. He helped you move out when Kyle was struggling. Then he left you money, and you bought that car like you earned being chosen." My voice came quietly. "No. Grandpa saw me." Dad scoffed. "He saw what you wanted him to see." I turned to him. "And what did you see?" Dad's face tightened. "A daughter who forgot family." I nodded slowly. "No. You saw an easier target than a bank." Kyle sat down hard in Brandon's empty chair. "It was supposed to be temporary." I looked at him. "How do you temporarily sell someone's car?" He did not answer. Officer Harris asked, "Where is the vehicle intended to go?" Brandon spoke before Kyle could. "It is already sold." My head turned. "What?" Brandon stood. "I had a buyer lined up. Papers were going through. I cannot just reverse everything now." Officer Harris looked at him. "You told us earlier the sale was not finished." Brandon swallowed. "I meant the listing sale. There was another buyer." Mom closed her eyes. Dad said, "Brandon." Harris said, "Name." Brandon rubbed both hands over his face. "Evan Cole." Kyle jumped up. "Don't." Harris looked at Kyle. "You know Evan Cole?" Kyle's face went gray. Officer Harris said, "Kyle." Kyle whispered, "He was just holding it." Denise said, "Holding what?" Kyle looked at me, and for the first time since this started, he looked young. Not innocent. Just small. "The car." My chest tightened again. "Where?" Kyle said nothing. Dad barked, "Do not answer." Officer Harris stepped closer. "Kyle, if that car has been moved or hidden after a questioned transfer, this becomes worse for everyone involved." Kyle's mouth shook. Mom said, "Baby, do not say anything." "Baby." She called him baby while my name sat forged on a title. I looked at Kyle. "You let them burn your sister to keep you warm." He flinched. I did not raise my voice. "Was it worth it?" Kyle stared at the floor. Then he said, "Storage unit. North Mill Road. Unit 18. Brandon cursed. Dad lunged toward Kyle, but Harris stepped between them. "Enough." Mom started crying then. Not gentle crying. Angry crying. "You have no idea what we have done for you, Mia." I looked at her. "You sold what Grandpa gave me because he did not give it to you." Her face twisted. He was my father. And he still chose not to trust you with that money. That landed. She slapped me before anyone moved. The sound cracked through the pawn shop. My cheek burned. Denise grabbed Mom's arm. Linda, no. Officer Harris stepped in. Mrs. Parker, back up. I touched my cheek. The skin was hot under my fingers. For a second, the little girl inside me waited for Mom to look horrified at herself. She did not. She looked satisfied. That cured something in me. Not healed. Cured. Officer Harris said, Mia, do you want to make a statement regarding that assault? Mom blinked. Dad said, assault? She is her mother. Denise's voice came sharp. She hit an adult woman in front of a police officer. Dad stared at her. Denise. No, Richard. I lied to myself long enough. Mom pulled her arm away. You are choosing her over your own sister? Denise looked at me. I am choosing the person who did not forge a signature. Officer Harris radioed for another unit and took down the storage unit location. Kyle sat with his head in his hands. Brandon stood frozen near the counter. Dad kept whispering to Mom, but she was staring at me like I had stolen from her. The drive to North Mill Road felt unreal. I rode with Denise. She kept both hands on the wheel, gripping too tight. I should have seen it. I looked out the window. You saw what she wanted you to see. That is not an excuse. No. She nodded. It is not. The storage facility sat behind a chain-link fence, rows of orange doors under a flat gray sky. The air was stale and hot between the buildings. Dust lifted around our shoes as we walked to Unit 18. Officer Harris had Kyle open it. The metal door rattled upward. My car sat inside. Covered in a thin layer of dust. The windshield looked dull. The cross still hung from the mirror. For a moment, nobody spoke. I stepped forward and touched the hood. Dust came away on my fingertips. It felt less like finding property and more like opening a grave they thought I would never visit. Kyle whispered behind me. I am sorry. I did not turn around. No, you are scared. He cried then. Once. Quietly. I let him. Officer Harris checked the VIN and confirmed it matched my documents. Brandon said, so she gets it back and we all move on? I looked at him over my shoulder. No. Mom said, Mia, please. There it was again. Fake softness after all the sharp edges failed. We can settle this quietly, she said. You have your car. Your brother learned his lesson. I turned to face her. My brother learned that consequences start when cameras work. Dad said, think about the family. I am. Mom reached for me. I stepped back. No more private fixes. No more quiet money. No more pretending theft becomes love because you say family first. Officer Harris asked, Mia, do you want to continue with the report? I looked at my car. Then at Kyle. Then at Mom and Dad. My cheek still burned. My hands no longer shook. Yes. Mom whispered, you would really do this to us? I held her stare. No. I pointed to the car behind me. You did this to us.